The alternative is not to do it. That's
Right.
the short answer.
Right.
So when we look at these traffic impact analyses, they're highly flawed. And I call it voodoo. I'm not sure if that's a technical term, but my experience has been that a lot of the traffic analysis is voodoo because what they're doing is the traffic analysis takes on assumptions like uh, with a development, every user at that development will be in a car and drive there all at the same time. And very similar to what you see, we've written many times in Strong Towns about Black Friday parking. You're designing for the worst case scenario at the peak time. That analysis costs an enormous amount of money for a small infill developer to do. And then it results in road projects that are based off of an analysis that is never really going to happen. And we just wrote an article on Strong Towns where there's a widening project that's threatening a 30-year-old farmers market. And the farmers market's loved by the community, but the traffic analysis is showing that the land has to be acquired to add more lanes and widening the road and all these pieces. When I was in Ranson, the form-based code that was adopted there took a completely different approach. The approach was what type of road network, what type of road system do you want? Require that, and then omit the traffic study. So instead of spending any money on a traffic study, invest that money into something that we could all benefit from. So the alternative to it is to outline a street grid, and street grids are extremely powerful. Strong Towns has written a lot about these, about the power of a street grid, not only in dispersing traffic, but economic development sides of it. So in a community where you have control of these things, developers have to build access points. They have to build driveways. They're going to build roadways in these developments. In Ranson, the city required all new development to connect to all future lots and all future street connections and existing connections. And by providing a network of streets, what I saw, which the Department of Highways was in complete disbelief on, is that with additional development in the heart of the downtown, we saw a reduction in vehicle miles traveled. So where a traffic analysis is always going to project north, it's always going to have to say more cars, more cars, more cars. You never see a traffic analysis that says, oh, this project will reduce traffic. It always produces more. But what we found is by requiring a network of projects, the city could see infill in the city and vehicle miles traveled, and we could directly relate that and correlate it to a disbursement of traffic within the city. So within a great street grid, everybody going 15 miles an hour, or less than 20 miles an hour through town on a street grid, they got places faster. And then what do you know, when the cars are driving at a slower speed, we saw an increase of walkers and cyclists. So even though it became a choice for folks. So I'm not an advocate of those studies because it's a self-fulfilling prophecy of making more roads. And it's usually based off of what I describe as voodoo. And there's a lot of technical terms that I'm sure there's some transportation engineers that will fill that in. But if your analysis as a city, if you know with all the data and research we have that the street grid is your most powerful transportation tool, then require it and accept that that's going to reduce and distribute trips. And you don't need a report. You don't need a big engineer to do it. You've already done it at a citywide level. And let folks that want to invest in your city invest on improving and updating that infrastructure and into their project, which has lasting value, with a report that does it. So that's what I plan for, what you want, and ask for it when the development comes.